connect. If you need to send messages to people to connect, send it now. Okay, this tonight we're going to have a sort of different setting, because it's not just me that will be speaking to you today. All right, you have many people coming and out, and I'm just basically setting the context. This verse, all right, 1 Corinthians 11 and verse 1 says this: imitate me just as I also imitate Christ. There's a wonderful message in that, and we will tend to make it true only for Christian things, but no. All right, when he says model after me, as you see, as I see Christ do, I do. As you see me do, as Christ do also. Is a useful template for us in all of life, that we need to be observant and to look. So in the same way that this is true for spiritual things, it's also very true for secular and everything else that we do in our lives. It's important for us to identify people who we are going to imitate, all right? Because that's one way for us to begin to replicate them. Success, this is very important. Success leaves clues. Success leaves clues. Successful people do things in a certain way. Success leaves clues. People who are successful in anything, they are successful by doing things in a certain way. In a certain way. They don't do like the rest of us. They don't do anyhow. They are not the results that they get are not accidental, by chance. They behave a different way. Their attitude is different. They do different things. They execute. Their success leaves clues. So your challenge, the goal for you is what? Observe. Realizing that successful people do things only in a certain way. Of your primary challenge is find somebody who is successful in an area that you want to be successful in. Find somebody who is successful in an area that you want to be successful in, and your challenge is to replicate what they do, because that's one way of replicating the results that they get. Observe, watch, see, take note, make a conscious effort. Why this is a challenge? Most, I don't want to say most of you. Most people are turned off by successful people. All these corrupt people. All these politicians. All these people stealing. Money ritual. And because you have such a negative vibe about people who are successful, who are making things happen, who are doing something, you always look for, you have no evidence, but you always condition it, because that's the way to make yourself people. That's the only reason that they have this kind of money, because they have done money ritual. It's easy. I won't kill anybody now, so if you are killing, that's common for you. Alright? Rich people they don't go to church, they don't pay tithe, you find an excuse to nullify the success that you see in other people. And what you resent is impossible for it to be replicated in your life. What you resent. There's a reason if I come to your house now, I will not see ashtray, a pack of cigarettes. Maybe in some of your houses I will see alcohol, but I'm not sure. But what you resent won't be present in your life. So don't be fond of, don't be negative about the success of other people. All right, put people before you when they are successful keep in your mind, nobody is successful generally in every area. There might be things that, this thing, I want it, this person has mastered it. I need to be watching him, and I need to see what he does, and then I will get it. The one way to get ahead, is to be observant of people who have been successful, to understand what they do, rather than to condemn it. A lot of people condemn what they don't understand before they have even tried to understand it. Alright, so it's important for you your job, as easy as that is observe these people, understand why is it that you are able to do this and I'm not able. What do you do? If find anyone amongst you now who seem to have a better relationship, maybe a better grasp of the Bible. You know, how do you manage this? When I try to read, I sleep. I fall asleep. I don't understand. You see somebody who seems to be able to be conversant in reading the Bible, understands it, getting along with you. Your primary task is understanding what the person does to be able to get this result. All right, and as you do them, you begin to get very similar results. Your primary task is observe and do like them. All right, observe and do like them, and your results will be very similar. All right. So over this session and the next month as well, what you will do is I will showcase. All right, we will showcase to you different people. All right, people who have accomplished a measure of success. All right, a measure of success. All of these people, including myself, are still on the journey. But you know what? They are no longer now struggling with many of the things that you are struggling with. Most of you are just starting out life. These people have gone 5 years, 10 years, some of them 15 years ahead of you. They are going to be telling you their own stories. All right, sharing with you. There were times I was asking about Joshua just now. How many of you know Joshua? Joshua, can you stand up? How many of you know Joshua? All right, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he was the person doing what Samuel did just now. He was the leader of the youth in our church for a while. So the first bed knuckles that we did was 2011. He was sitting down just like many of you, all right, today. Now you can see him, he's in suits, his bed gang, life is good. All right, so he will come today to say to you, I was exactly like you at this point. What are the things that I did, all right, that translated into some of the difference that you see. All right, so I would, many of those. Your challenge, I'm going to tell you, when you are listening to all of these people speak, I come here and speak, all right, you are watching out for what did they do that was different, all right? What did they do that was different? How did they react, all right, to the challenges that are similar to for all of us that we face? How did they react? Is their reaction different? You find out that people who are successful react differently from most other people, all right? What attitude made it possible for them to transform? Attitude is very important. Two of us may not have money. All right, two of us may not have money, but the attitude with which I'm dealing with my own not having money doesn't make me, all right, I can't say the word, but doesn't make an ass of me. All right, doesn't make me irritant to everybody, doesn't make me offensive to everybody, doesn't make me blame everybody, take it out on everybody. I'm dealing with it. And the two of us may not have money. The two of us may be in an accident and we have injury, and something has happened. We have not been fortunate in life and all of that. But your attitude can make a whole difference in terms of how you are dealing with it. How your parents treated you, all of the things that are normal to us, people will respond to it differently. What habits? All right, what habits did they do they have? Yeah. I was very glad when the lady said 8 hours last month. By this month, she has turned to 6 hours, because suddenly she realized that I can't be sleeping 1 day out of 3. Oh, this is not okay. All right, and simply she has changed that. If those 2 hours now, she's now using it for something more meaningful. Her life is progressing. All right. What behavior did they have to embrace? What changes? All right, what made it possible? What disciplines? All right, did they learn? Did they imbibe? All right, that made it possible for them. What actions did they take? Remember what I said. What's the widest gap in the world? Widest gap. What we know, what we do. So if you take action, your own gap will be small. If you don't take action, it will be widening. All right. So what actions did these people take? So when you are listening to these people, everybody who will speak this month, who will speak next month, what you are looking out for is, what can I learn from them? How did they deal with this thing? How did they deal with this situation? What made it different for them? Your goal is to model these things.
All right, your goal is to learn from these people and model these things. I don't want to be the only person telling you this and that and that. There is, I think, incredible usefulness that comes from listening to somebody else as well, who was 10 years ago or 12 years ago, was exactly in a similar situation as you, and he will tell you his story, what he did, what actions he took, what he took from this session, what he did afterwards, that have, moved him further along this journey of life. So is that understood? Okay, that makes sense. So I will go first. All right, I'll tell you my story. I'll tell you the some of the things that I think made a difference for me. All right, and yeah, we'll take it from there. But very many of you don't know me beyond. I'm most of your parents' friends, but many of you don't know. And to be honest with you, if I run into many of you on the street before we started this session, I might not have known you again. But so it's possible that your knowing me is knowing me from speaking at this place, and you might imagine that yeah, it's easy, but it wasn't. It wasn't anywhere easy. All right, I was born many years ago. But my earliest memories start from 1976. For some reason, that's when I can start remembering things from. Everything that happened between 1976 and when I was born in the 60 something, I can't remember. All right, I have a faint remembrance of those. I can tell you that I grew up in a home. My parents were separated, and I can only guess when they were, because my younger brother was born 2 years after me. By 1976, they were separated because, as I said, I was remembering. So I would say give it a few years after my brother was born, they were separated. They were separated. Their separation wasn't one of those bad ones. So I lived with my mom sometimes. I lived with my dad sometimes. None of them told me. Each one of them was saying, your mother was a good woman, this. When I go to her, she say your father was a good, and I'm thinking, why did you people, separate and all of that? But there are so many reasons for that. So I have no memory of my mother and my father living together. I have no memory. I've always known them to, my dad I live with mainly, my mom I live with sometimes occasionally. So I don't have, so if you want to say I'm a product of a broken home, all right, if that is what is worrying you, be encouraged that somebody like me came from a broken home too, and hey, see what God has done today. We grew up, so from 1976 that I said to you, I remember, that is because we moved to Ijesha and started living in Ijesha. So if you have gone to Dolo, I've lived all my life from 1976 to 1997 when I got married. Did I get married in 1997? 1997, yeah, I got married. I lived it 2 streets from Modolo. I first lived in Ondo Close. How many of you know Ondo Close? Okay, we lived there from 1976 to 1984. And 1984, we moved to the next street, Femi Daramola. How many know Femi Daramola? Okay, Femi, both of those places, I lived with my dad in a one-room apartment. What else was interesting? When we moved to Femi Daramola, we moved from a better one-room apartment to a worse one-room apartment because conditions were very hard. I don't remember growing up with a TV in our house. Things were quite tough. My dad died when I was in year one uni. That was 1987, 88. Okay, that was my year one. Okay, so my dad passed in 1988, and since 1988, I've been living alone. All right, I was living by myself from 1988. 1988, I was 20 years old. I've been living by myself since I was 20. I could go to my mom. My mom also lives in Lagos. I could go to her, but my mom lived at Lasu. I was in Ijesha. All my crew was in Ijesha. My guys were in Ijesha. my life was in Nigeria. I just said, you know what, I made the choice, all right, and I'll speak about that later. I made the choice that I'm better off staying close to my friends than going to go and live in Momsi, because with my friends, we'll be okay, all right? So I lived alone for some years before somebody that else that is in Glory Land that I went to school with, his brother kicked him out of his house, so he also started living with me. That would be years after. I went to Unilag. I graduated, and then I started working in a bank, and I've done so many things after that. I got married in 97. I had my children some years after that. I'm here today. I don't know what else I can tell you. I don't know what else I can tell you. But I think that what's important to establish is I also didn't start from a lot of material things. There were a lot of challenges along the way, but the most important thing is how did you go from that, all right, to this, all right? That's what I think is meaningful learning for you people. The first thing I want to establish is whatever your situation is. When we lived in Femdamola, I lived in a house where there were like 14 or 15 other families. There was one toilet. It wasn't a flushing toilet. All right. So it was as nasty and as bad as you can imagine. But I was okay. I had my friends. I was okay. We could roll. We could move. We could do things. All right. So what I'm going to say to you now are the things that I believe made a difference for me, made it possible for me to start out from that and to transform to what I am today. Not the perfect picture, but moving along a direction that I think that God wants for me to. The first thing that I think made a difference is imagination. I lived in a physically challenging conditions. We didn't have a lot. My environment was not very challenging. By the time we went to uni in Ijesha, I'm telling to you about 1987. So we left secondary school in 85. I was the first set of secondary school. You don't know it. If you live in Okota today and you see that school village, all right, that school village was all different schools. That was the first set that when they built that school, that they do the hall to halfway and the upper side is empty. I was the first set of that thing. I went to school in 1980. It was secondary school for me. We carried, so my school was named after Ilamoye Street in Ijesha. Who knows Ilamoye Street in Ijesha? Ilamoye Street. That school was going to be our location first. So we were there for a week or two before they now opened Okota, or the school village in Okota where everybody went. We carried our desk and chair on our head from that Ilamoye. We crossed the express until we got to Okota school. All of us were 10, 11 years. Carry table on your head, walk all those things, cross the express, still walk all to that thing, to that this thing. In my secondary school, I don't think there was a session, first term, second term, third term, where I had notes that got to the middle of the 60 leave this thing to tell you how anyhow the schools were. I'll tell you a story. How many school start credits do you think I got? How many school start credits do you think I got? I got 4 credits and 2 P's. You know what? People were coming to my house to come and congratulate me because it was the second or third best result in the school. Because we didn't have anything. People were coming to go, oh boy, you try, oh man, you slam that thing, that 4 credits. But you know what? Going to UNILAG was very helpful for me because it was the first chance that I got to convince myself that if I had the same opportunity that all these boys that went to KC, to QC, to this thing went, I would be okay. Going to UNILAG, I was so determined because at that time, last all the state uni were nothing like that. I'm not talking now, I'm talking 1980 something. They were nothing, they were all just starting. I've gone to Jakonde school. I wasn't going to go to Jakonde University too. So I was certain that I needed to go to Ife or any of these federal school, UNILAG and all of that. I ended up in UNILAG because I didn't want to go far. Because I know that nobody will give you money that you go for a month or 2 months before you come back and go, no, so I have to be close. Anything happen, I can bounce to the house. Weekly, I was going home. All right. But going to UNILAG and graduating with a 2-1 convinced me that these people too are not, they don't get two heads. That's why I proved that these people, they don't have two heads. All right, going to UNILAG was very useful for me. So the first thing that I did is I used my imagination to get out of that situation. Because many people get bound, get trapped by their physical environment. By the time we were going to school in that whole Idisha, me and my friends were like the first set of people to go to uni. Young people. We were like young people go to that kind of school and come out, and we were like, and you know what? Once we went to school, everybody charged. It was like it's possible that these people can go to uni. And you saw that 2 years, 1 year after, 2 years after, everybody wanted to go. So whilst my physical condition was nothing to talk home about, I was creating in my head, I was seeing pictures in my head that I was going to get out of this situation. In my head, I wasn't trapped in that condition. I was always I imagined working in a bank. I imagined having a house. I imagined having a car. I didn't think that, though I was living with all of these people, sharing this toilet with them, I didn't think that was the end of my life. In my mind, though, in my head, there was always something that I was going to come out of. So that's very important for every one of you here. And the reason we have done this 4 months or this thing, one of the objectives is to make you see more than you can physically. Your physical environment now is seen. You can picture in your mind more. Picture in your mind. When I speak about desire, when I speak about this, let all of these things transform you into a future that is hopeful, that is better, that you can make happen. All right, your current condition doesn't have to be an imprisonment. In your mind, travel in your mind. Travel in your mind, create pictures, see things, see yourself getting married, having children, see yourself, your children schooling abroad, doing things, create massive pictures in your head for you while you are physically or environmentally challenged. Does that make sense? All right, because once you see that in your mind, it's impossible for anybody to rob you of that. And I keep saying to you, they don't charge you money for it. Whether you think big or you think small, they are not charging you for it. Nobody is charging you for it. It's the same effort you will use to resign to it. It's the same effort you will use to create a picture in your mind that is better than you can see. All right, does that make sense to you? So always, I think that helped me to hear. Even here now, I have some pictures in my mind of what I'm going to do, what I'm going to be. You always keep creating those pictures for yourself. Does that make sense to you? Yes. All right. Number 2, I said simplicity. The second thing that has helped me is I sort of, maybe it's a gifting, maybe it's a talent, maybe it's a learned habit or something. I have a way of simplifying things that are usually very big, very confusing for people. All right, I have a way of simplifying it. What does that do for me? It helps me to make my decisions very quickly. All right, the things that are complex things, complicated things, very challenging things. I have a way of simplifying it in my own mind. That way, it helps me to make a decision. I'll give you an example. When I was going to get married, in the pictures that I've created in my mind, I plan to get married in the year 2000. It just looks like a good year to be married, 2000. All right. By that time, I'll be 32 years. I just saw that, yeah, but I ended up getting married 3 years ahead of that. All right. I ended up getting married 3 years ahead of that. You know, one of the things, and the marriage situation is always, very complex for people, things to do or numerous things to do. So I was happy when Joshua was getting married. Is it last year or 2 years now? Last year. And I was talking to him that, oh boy, how are you? And he said to me that this thing is a breeze now. It's not as difficult as people make it out to be. I knew that he had learned something. So when I was going to get married, I just told myself in my mind, though, this marriage is about two people living and feeding. Two people. The long and short of it is two people living and feeding. That's the whole marriage thing. Two people living together. You don't have to have children immediately. The wedding, the ceremonial thing is optional. Marriage is two people living and feeding. And I thought, now I'm already working in a bank. I've worked for a number of years. I'm an assistant manager. Surely I can feed two people. So from one night, by this time when I made the decision, my wife now was not ready. It was that why I've figured this thing out in my head. There's no reason for us to be doing this thing we are doing again. Two people feeding ourselves. We can do that. And so what did that make me do? So everything about the wedding was optional for me. I got married on a Friday. There was no reception. No cake, no wedding reception, no, because what I found out that did I have the money to do an engagement, a reception and all that? I actually had the money. I was already an assistant manager working in a bank. But if I did those wedding ceremonies, it would deny me the way I want to live, where I want to live. Because I had absolutely determined that from that edition where I was, this was my movement. It wasn't back. So living in Okota, Ejigbo, Ipaja, all that, I ruled all that one out. From here, as I am here now, Surulere, further in, an island, that's the way. I lived in that my one room, in that thing, until 1 month before I got married. I could have rented a house anywhere else before that, but I was determined that, you know what, this is how my movement was going to be. I'm not going to do start out in Yanopaja, come and be. I said, suffered in that place. I labored in that place. I had the money to rent a house. We had not found a house until 1 month before my wedding. But in my mind, I was like, if the day of the wedding comes and we have not found a house, I already have the money for a house. My wife will just go to mom say and go and be living there where I'm hustling this way. Because this place that I am, I can't bring wife there. I'll be hustling there. But that's how I was determined. We did wedding on Friday. There was no reception. Any of you who listened when Pastor Shola was talking, after the service, they distributed one hot limca and gave everybody, find your way and be going. Because for me, the money of doing reception, doing wedding cake, doing all of this is the wedding of renting house at the Sabashua, Ralph Williams. So I would deny myself living in Ralph Williams. I would do wedding for people who will go and still be complaining that they were not fed, they were not. I said, oh, my house at that time, DSTV was not like now. Before I got married, my friend was one of the few people in Lagos who had DSTV. You know how I used to watch Premiership? He would record the games for me on video over the weekend. And when he comes to work, he give me the tape, I will watch. That DSTV had unguarded me. He has suffered me so much that I was certain that as I'm renting my house, the DSTV is here. But that whole decision was only possible because I decomposed it into it's two people living together and feeding. All right. So it kind of has helped me in many things in my life. I don't focus on a lot of the things that people focus on. I don't get worried by the things that people worry about. I don't agitate about the things that people agitate about. I'm kind of cool like that. Many of you don't, you see me now, you don't know how I got married. You're laughing now, but yeah, that's some of the things that I've had to do, all right, to get here. Just a focus and an a maniacal focus on what you want. You just remove all the noise, all right. You dispense all the noise. You be focused on this is what I want to do. Will people laugh at you? They will still laugh at me today that Ayo's wedding is only hot limca with. I don't send though. I don't care. What I was concerned about is when I went home, there's DSTV in my house. I was fine. I started watching. Oh, you people have not been born now. All this time, when Kanu was playing for Arsenal, you people have not been born. So to have DSTV in my house at that time and to live in Addis Ababa in Rafu Williams, not in all of going backwards. Those are the things that were important to me. So I did that. Understand that simplicity has helped me in making many decisions. All right, and it's your decisions that shape your life. It's the choices that you make. All right, a lot of the people who are getting married, who are doing all of those things, most of them didn't have the money that I have at that time. Not that I didn't have money to do a ceremony, but I just saw that to entertain people and make people happy, and I'll go and live in a depot so that I can do. No, it wasn't a good day. I was kind in my mind that no, I'm not doing this. After I've suffered in this place for this long, all this, I'll now be going backwards again. I rejected it. All right, and that, decisions. Remember when I told you guys this thing on the first day. People who are successful make their decisions very quickly, and they tend to stick with them. Like whereas unsuccessful people, rarely, they take a lot of time, and when they make decisions, they change it at the first obstacle. For my wedding, what was the program for the wedding? I look at what is this in program? I can lay out this. If you lay out this thing in this, I will print it in the office, plain paper, and do it and use, and that's what they did. No invitation. If I tell you, people be getting angry that they didn't invite them. They are now sitting in church. That's the invitation. You don't come. I don't want you to come safe. That was it. The announcement in the church is the one you will hear. If you are upset that they didn't invite me personally and I won't come, I don't want you to come. So all of those decisions were clear. Do you think people were not trying to convince me? My mom, my decision, my Ashebi or party, I told, I don't have interest. And my friends now called me that Momsi called them the Ashebi. I called the woman that, what are you doing? She damned me that, did I ask you for money? I said, we understand ourselves. We understand ourselves. It doesn't concern me. I don't want to know what you're doing, so long as I'm not the one who is paying for it. Yeah, go ahead and do it. Anything you want to do, all right? But it was very good that you just the ability to simplify things and make a decision and focus on it. You will find out that many of the things that you are preoccupied by, they are not important, they are not necessary for you. Just focus on what is important and hold on to it. Let all the noise happen, all right? The third thing, adaptability. To adapt, all right, to every situation, to adapt, to look ahead, to anticipate things. A lot of people don't anticipate. Because especially if something that they're doing now is successful, they don't anticipate. All right. But God has helped me. I've always looked forward, I've always looked ahead. I've always tend to make a move before it becomes obvious. All right. So it's something that over the years, has been very helpful to me. As I said, when what you are doing today is successful, when I was working in the bank, by the time I left the bank and moved to something else, a lot of people that were bankers at that time were looking, why would you do something like this? Because I left banking, where I already had a car, or I moved to a job where they didn't give me a car. So for people at that time, what they think, how will you go to a place now where you don't have a car? But 1 year after that, Charles Soludo started his trouble with the bank, many of them were calling me and like, "Hey, why didn't you tell us this?" I told you people are focused on car. You always have to be moving. You always have to be conscious, be aware. You know what's happening, all right, so that you can always move before something else catches up to you. The fact that something is working or works one time, all right, it doesn't mean that you don't keep your eye up and be aware. I've always managed, like now, I'm going through a period of change. All right, I'm going through a season of change. I'm not sure definitely what I'm going to do or what I'm going to be or whatever it is. There's some risk, there's some doubt, there's all of that. But it's a season to migrate again. There's always that thing about holding on to something that is very good and something else. You always have to. What has helped me is keeping focus on always changing. Always changing before the time comes. There's a reason why I can be Samuel's friend, I can be all of these people's friend. All right, you must have a desire to be evolving. All right, these people can talk to me. I can roll with you people. I can vibe with you. I don't have a problem. I can vibe with old people too. But I can come with you. Where is Penel? Where is Penel? Okay, Penel and I can roll together. I don't have any problem. There are some people where they are static, but I'm always open-minded, trying to keep myself abreast and anticipating change. I think that has helped me to not get. There are people who are still working in banking now that we were working together at that time, and most of them are frustrated and not sure, but they haven't done that. Number 4. I put strange in this. In what it is paradigm. All right. Paradigm. How many remember what I said paradigm was last month? Last month. How you see things. Paradigm is the way you see the world, the way you interpret things to yourself, what things mean to you. All right, that's your paradigm. All right, and I put strange here because my paradigm tends to be strange when you relate to other people. The thing that I didn't tell you about my wedding was my wife had a wedding this thing being made. The day before the wedding, she tried it, the thing they fit. She just went to, whether it's Balogun or one of those, she just bought a skirt suit. She wore the thing, we did the wedding, everybody went home. There was no. You have to do strange things, things that make sense to you. They will not make sense to everybody, but you need to be sure that the way you see the world, the interpretation of it is useful to help you. Not you're not picking up everybody else's paradigm that is not helpful to them, and you're hoping it will be helpful to you. All right. If you have to approach everything as if this is not in the Bible. Many things that people are doing today, it is not in the Bible. God didn't instruct us to do it. It's just people, there's a way that people like to do it. There's nothing that says that. I'll tell you another story about my wedding. All right? What comes first? Traditional and church. What comes first? And then, where is it written that must be? So in our case, you know what we did? We did the church on Friday. We did the traditional on Saturday. My wife didn't go home with me on Friday until the family released her on that. But hey, who knows? It's not in the Bible that you must do traditional before you do. You ask questions, you challenge things, what works for you. Don't accept everything as truth because there are many dogmas, okay? There are many dogmas that are holding people back. You have to challenge things. You have to challenge things. You have to challenge things. So if God didn't say this thing, it's possible for us to question it and to challenge it. Why are we doing it like this? Is it the law? Is it biblical? What is the reason why we're doing it? All right? And we challenge it. The reason why many people suffer to hold on to a different paradigm is what they want to feel comfortable with what everybody else is doing. People will laugh at you. Do you know the people who are laughing at me about that wedding? Because they are understanding, well, how can you have a wedding without reception? How can you not have wedding cake? How can you print your wedding program just in church? In the office, you just print it on plain paper and you come and give people to read. That thing, after that, what do? You throw it away. If you have the money, do it. But I'm saying, don't let that thing be the reason why you'll be waiting another year to marry because of that thing when you don't need it. Every day, that time, pastor will be telling us, if you people have agreed to marry, now come to my office, I will marry you people. There's no such ceremony is irrelevant. You only need to go to sign that paper, it is done. But people will be waiting. Do you know something else I did? They haven't told you people my story in this church. I've scattered a lot of things for them. Child dedication. It used to be that people would do child dedication on Sunday. And the women will wait at home for long because they are waiting for the husband to have money to throw a party. This child dedication and the party, is it a law? Is it the church? This thing? They tell me no. Okay, so it's the dedication that is important. Bring the child to church and all of that. There's no need for the woman to be at home waiting for more. You know what I did? Guess. My children were dedicated on Wednesday service. Wait. Until I do party, then you don't go, wait. Because they think that the things that are important to them are the things that are important to you. But if you live in Yanopaja and you want to do something on a Saturday, you to check. You to check. The trouble to go to that place and to come out and say, man. So like, okay, they don't do something with other people. When they are doing, I think, wait until I'm doing something. Let me call you. First year birthday for my children, I didn't do any party. They say in our house, we buy cake, we eat. The people who know us will come around the house and do uncle, auntie, easy. When my children were 10 years, I asked them, do you guys want us to do party? Or I'll give you 1 million. They said, give me 1 million. My children now they don't like noise on their head. Because, we just don't make noise. But they'll tell you at the first year birthday, when the people grow up, they'll be asking for it. It's you who want to do that party. It's not, the child doesn't know anything.
The child doesn't know anything.
All right, so because people want to avoid being laughed at, being mocked, people will mock you, jest at you and people don't like that, so they like to harmonize with everybody, do what everybody else is doing. No. And why do these women wait 4 months, 5 months after their child is born before they come and dedicate? Because they are looking for money that they will come and use and throw party after. I said, why? So I came on Wednesday. People will laugh at you, and people don't like people to laugh at them, and people don't want to stand out. There's this Japanese proverb that says, the nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered. So because they want to blend and do everything that people do, all right, they want to mix with people in the midst of, let all of us be miserable together. I chose to be okay by myself, let everybody else be miserable. So you have to be confident in yourself to take a stand. I'm not saying any of this thing is bad, but I'm saying if you like them, if they work for you, okay. But if they don't work for you, question it. Question it. All right? Question it. And in the end, stories don't mean anything. Years ago, that's what I used to tell them. This thing that you're doing, if it's the best thing, we will see in a few years. This thing that I'm doing, if it's working, we will show in the end, when the result, say, before, Ronaldo is the greatest player, it's Messi, this one, Ronaldo. December now, do you see the argument again? No, there's no argument. There's no, once you put your result on the table, argument has ended. All the stretching that they used to stretch, that Ronaldo is somehow is this, is that now. Once you put the World Cup on the table, end of the conversation. You can be grumbling inside. The guy said gave up. He just went to Saudi Arabia. Just there's nothing to find. The struggle left him. Result, you have to be focused on that, your own result. Let people laugh at you. Let people not believe in you. Let people doubt you. Just be focused. When you put your result on the table, you'll be okay. But when you're trying to blend to feel accepted, you are feeling accepted in misery. Be okay. It's perfectly okay to stand alone and to be alone. If what you see, you want to get it. It's perfectly okay for you to be alone. They should laugh at me at this church now. You people don't know that. They used to say that I don't know the Bible, that I'm a secular person, that I shouldn't bring all this bank. That's what they used to say back in the day. All your parents, they used to look at me and laugh. It's only now they will tell you that, you're speaking, go and listen to him. It's only now, that time, it looks like I was somebody that was sent as a serpent into the church to destroy you. Yeah. But I was focused that this thing that you are doing, if it's working for you, we will see in 10 years' time. And this thing I'm doing, if it's working, I will see in 10 years. When you put your result on it, you don't end up, there's no need for story. Debate. Ronaldo can head the ball more than this thing, he can jump more than this, he can do all that one. You know, the people they just, he died quietly. Quiet. The spirit left them. They didn't have the stomach for the fight again. So you are a Ronaldo guy. Yeah. When you put it, the person doesn't argue. Ronaldo will say, Saudi Arabia League is bigger than MLS. The person doesn't answer you. I am the best that he doesn't answer you. He has put the World Cup on the table. When you win World Cup, bring it, then we can have a conversation. Yeah, it's coming. 2030 something. Let him come. All right. The fifth thing is the fact gratification. I've said this: the ability to delay gain today. You know, is pain now for gain later. Many people don't have that. Pain now for gain later. Many people don't have that. People don't have the ability to wait for something. They want immediate results. They want, see, the fact that you are doing the right thing doesn't mean the results will show immediately. And that's what discourages many people. Because when they do the stuff that they are doing today, the result is not showing, then they give up. But it takes everything that is good, takes time. Everything that is good takes time. Everything that is good takes time. You need to work it. 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 You need to work these things. And be patient. When you have sowed your seeds, be patient for it to grow. I keep telling people, if you plant something on the ground and you are wondering, how does this thing, you know, what mechanism does it use to come out of the ground? And every day that you plant it, you dig it to see whether it's growing. Every day, what are you doing? Every day you are reburning it. Every day that you open it and you close, that's the day you are starting. So have faith in the process that you are going through. Or have faith in the process that you are going through. Many years ago, this Nkechi came to speak to you on Wednesday. She said to me, everything that we're doing, the people in my office, they're getting the same result and they're not doing it. What is the essence of these things that we're doing? I said to her, wait. It takes time. If you know mathematics, you know compound interest. It begins to accumulate. In 5 years' time, the difference will start showing. You will start putting gap. It's not immediate. Immediate, it will look like, yeah, we're not doing anything. If you start going to the gym and somebody is not going to the gym, he will look at you after the first month and, what is it? Yeah, it will not be obvious. But it's compounding. And then in 2 years, they now see you like, God, man. They will not give up. They see that, this thing, if I started it 2 years ago, this is where I will be. Okay, you didn't start it. Why not start it in that 2 years? It's too late now. But another 2 years' time, that person is still going. You are still where you are. The ability to wait for what you want. Wait, that thing that I told you about, I had money, but I absolutely refused in my mind that I was going to go and rent a house anywhere else. I already made my contingency. Wedding can come, I have not found the house because I already had the money. I was certain that, man, this is where I was going to live. I stayed in that Ijesha long after I'd lived it, but I stayed there. Because sometimes going through that thing will serve as motivation for you. So I don't like half measures. Get something half. Then you'll be comfortable, but it's not what you want. You are substituting. It deadens your hunger. So wait, I'll walk through that thing. Pay the price. Pay the price for success. Pay the price for success. One of the reasons why I'm here today is my attitude in Unilag changed. As I was driving into that first day that I was driving into that Unilag, I told myself, as I entered that gate, this one, I'm not coming out of here if I don't have to make 2-1. That we're dying here with my 4 credits and 2. You know, when you are queuing at matric, where is English? Where is mathematics? You bring out, everybody has 9 A's, 8 A's, all of those. But you know the embarrassment of physics is here, mathematics is here. But I went through that. But at that time, I told myself, I'm not leaving this campus without making 2-1. And every year, up to year 3, first semester, I was in 2-1. Second semester, year 3, I had the absolutely worst results. That cumulatively I came to 2-2. Year 3, second semester. My result was so woeful that it drove me to 2-2. But you know what? We're dying here. Year 4, first semester, I had the absolutely best results. I transported myself back to 2-1. And I maintained it for the second semester. And because of that, I managed to get myself into Lagos. I got myself into a bank for NYC. And I've not been without a job for 1 day since. So you need to determine what is important to you, and you need to be able to pay the price. Take responsibility. Take responsibility. You are the person who is going to change whatever it is in your. Don't blame your parents. Don't blame your. Everybody has excuses. But take responsibility. I always tell myself, I'm the person who is going to change it. I'm the person who is going to change it. I don't need anybody. I'm the person who is going to change it. For my NYC, my uncle had arranged for me to, because I got in myself Lagos, I told my uncle, his friend worked in GTB. So I was going to go to GTB for NYC. I told them in NYC already, post me to GTB. It's test, I can't fail. It's test. There's nothing, the test can't be the thing that will be obstacle to me. So before I knew anything, I told them, post me to GTB. I was in camp. I now missed the day GTB people came to do tests in camp. I didn't know. I was waiting. They have gone a few weeks. I now escaped. I went to GTB. Uncle, what is happening now? This test, we will soon pass out. They told me, where were you? They came to camp yesterday to do the test. I'd already made my posting to GTB. I was now stuck. Okay, let me do the test now and do it. They said, no, the next test is January. This was something like October. I'll be waiting from now till January. Who has time for that? I'd had on TV, the MD of Intercontinental Bank was speaking about his bank, was speaking so glowingly about it, about how all their managers are 30 or below and all of those. It was a very fascinating story. And a friend of mine was already going to do his NYC with them. So I left GTB. I knew where the Intercontinental office was, somewhere in Onikon. I dropped, take a bus, dropped. I went into the office in Intercontinental. I went to HR. I didn't know anybody. I take responsibility. I went to HR. I told the person my story, that I'm a youth corper in Lagos. I went to Unilag. I read finance. I have 2-1. The woman like, say this thing that you're saying to me again. I said that I'm an NYC youth corper in Lagos. I went to Unilag. I read finance. I had 2-1. He went inside. He went to call our guy. Come and hear this thing that I'm saying, whether this guy is making sense to you. The guy came and said the same thing to me. He said I should wait. They carried me upstairs. They did test for me. They brought the test. I did it. They said I should wait for the result. They marked it. I passed. Immediately, they issued me a letter that I should now, it's up to me now to go and change my GTB posting to Intercontinental Bank. That's another war, because the camp people will say, you are the person who say you wanted GTB. That one. So as I left that place, I went to my uncle to tell him that I don't know what happened, that I missed the GTB test. But don't worry. As I was coming, I stopped over at Intercontinental. I've done the test. I've gotten the letter. This is it. So the work for me now is to go and add. So there was no issue. Many of you haven't heard all of this. You just see me today, just like, yeah, all this work, we waged it. All right? We waged it. Every time you always think, when you blame somebody else, you take the power from yourself. That's what I always try to tell people. Every time you think that somebody is your problem, somebody needs to change, something else, somebody else, that thing is a problem for you. You need to take on that challenge yourself. You need to take on the challenge. Number 7, association. I told you people about my friends. I have the absolutely best friends in the world for me. 3 of my best friends now, we went to nursery school together. So this will be like 1970 something, and they're still my friends today. When I went to secondary school, I picked up another 1 or 2. When I went to uni, I added to it. Everywhere, when I started working, I've added 1 or 2 from work to it. When I joined Gloryland, I've added some people to it. But my friends have been, I told you that I chose to stay around my friends rather than to go and live with my mom. I learned from myself, my friends' generosity, a living for each other, a sharing something for each other, a having each other's back, a covering for each other. I'm saying this thing now because all of you guys are at a point now where take responsibility for making your choice of friends carefully. Don't be careless. The people who will ride and die with you, you're choosing them now. Stay with them. The people that iron sharpens iron, the people that will be your people. So among my friends, the things that people suffer, I don't suffer it. Somebody will, you call somebody a friend who will talk negative about you. No, none of those kind of issues. Somebody said this thing is not true. He lied to you. He said, I don't. It is important for you as you are here that you are forming the right friendship and you know how to be the best friend. Be the friend that you want them to be to you. That way, that's the only model you can be. Be that thing that you want your friends to be to you. You be it. All right? But your friends, they're absolutely important. I've become the person that I am today from the kind of friends that I've kept. When I say that they're in this church, I have 2 of my friends are Muslim. But you know what? If anything happened to me, I entrust them with my family before I will entrust many of the people here. But in this church too, I've made wonderful friends. Pastor Feyi, Day4, all of these people have become my family. From this, everywhere I go, I've managed to keep people that are my own people. All right, it's very important. And the warning that it's better for you to be alone than to keep bad company. It's better for you to be alone than to keep bad company. So select, but be the friend that you want to be. And the final thing is, you know what? Generosity, kindness. I learned that from the suit I wore on my first day to work. First day that I was working was my friend's suit. His dad used to be managing director of a bank, and he had traveled and bought a suit for him. He had no problem letting me wear it to work. For many years, I was eating dinner in my friend's house. Even when he went to school, his mom would still make dinner ready for me for when I would come. And as a result of that, I just feel a need, a burden, a desire to be also generous to other people. Be kind to people. It has helped me. If anything has helped me, it's being kind to people. Because I've been a beneficiary of other people's kindness. When people have had absolutely no reason to be kind towards me, they've been kind to me. So I feel that I have a burden, to be kind to people. And it has helped me. Just being generous. The things that we do for other people, those are the things that my philosophy is always, what you are looking for is so big. People think that I am too generous sometimes. But I keep saying, what I'm asking God for is so big. So that I just feel I have to show up big for other people. What I'm looking for from what I'm looking for in life, no human being can give it to me. So I feel a need to show up for other people because I'm expecting God to show up, and He has. Over the years, He has. People get tired, and it can be tiring. This week I was talking to my wife. She was saying, this person, this one, what should I do to this person? I said, it's you now. You're talking to the person that just vibe with it. Then she said that there's another person. Sometimes it can be tiring, the number of people that you have to help. But I keep saying that we can't let that stop us from doing something. We have to do it because what we are asking from God is also very big. All right, so we have to show up in a big way. All right, as I round this session up, I'll tell you, just keep at it. Whatever you have learned, whatever you have picked, whatever you are learning, just keep at it. The result may not show at the start. It may appear that we are all on the same level. Over time, there will be elevation. All right, over time there will be elevation. Many of you have said these things now, and I've been waiting to hear these things from the second month, but I've heard it today. That it appears that once I made the decision, things started falling in place for me. That's one. From the second month, I've been waiting to hear that. That's what tends to happen. When you align yourself, the universe tends to align and will be delivering to you, all right, the things, the resources that you need to make these things happen. All right. So I encourage you to keep at it. And I leave you with this final word. Just that confidence. Just that confidence that God made you, that the Son of God. And that if He puts a desire in your heart, all right, and you're committed to it, there's absolutely nothing that you can't do, that you can't achieve, that you can't accomplish. You only need to try it. All right? Thank you very much. Do you guys have any questions for me? Okay? All right? No question. All right?
What has been the most important mentor mentorship experience you've had? And you dislike that.
Okay.
Why was it important?
So I was crazy back in the day, and I just wanted. I was on a search. I just started writing letters to people. So I went to this guy, Sheyi Wright, is his name, many years ago. You guys can hear. Okay, can you hear now? Okay, many years ago, as I was on a quest for these things, just journey. So I was writing to everybody, help me or anyhow. So I wrote to this guy. His name was Sheyi Wright. And I went to him, he acknowledged this and he invited me and he spoke to me. And he said to me, he was the person that put me on the path to reading. He said to me, I read books. Read books. And that's how my reading habit started. Last month when you see, I said read and write. And I think that most of the things that I've learned subsequently have come from the books that I've read. They have been absolutely transformational. Anyone else? Okay. It may, give to one, you can't say.
Okay, while you're on the journey, having for protection and navigating all the way to where you have today,
Yeah.
did you ever have a sponsor? Because I know the difference between a sponsor and a mentor. Was there any role of a sponsor throughout the journey?
Yeah, the answer to that would be yes. And the other counter to it is yes, not in any unique way. But I found out that in most places where I've been, where I've worked, by virtue of the quality of work that I've done, people have taken me on as their person. And I don't know them, I don't go to their house, they don't come to my house, they don't, but they're just taking me as their boy. I'll give you an example. I told you that I missed the GTB test. So they now called me in January when I was doing NYC with Intercontinental. They were now ready. I now did the test. I now passed. They now gave me a job. I said, let me start this job. Bone NYC, let me start this job now. They say, no, either I have to change my NYC to them when I started, or I will wait. I said, after changing from GTB to Intercontinental, I can't go back now and start saying I want to change back. So I didn't take the offer at the time. They didn't give me an offer because I wasn't ready and all that. And I finished my service with Intercontinental. I just continued with them. Many years after that, I saw someone, Chikambono. He later became MD of Citizens Bank and many other things. I would not have recognized him, but he recognized me. Just I gave you a job, you didn't take it. Because and that's how we now developed the relationship. He now ended up working in FSB where I was. So at that time I was his boy, because he had already known me. I was his boy, and in FSB as well, there was Carl Depiton. But all of these people took me on as they became my sponsor just purely from attitude, from work. I'll give you another example in FSB. So they go for retreat, management retreat. So you have to be senior manager before you can go. I was assistant manager or GM, so I wasn't qualified to go. So, but they will take me along as the person who will write the minutes for those things. As rapporteur, I will not be in there. They'll be arguing. So now that who will take minutes, call Ayo. That's how my name will get onto it. So many years after, when Accenture was going to do some turnaround thing in the bank, I didn't know all of these things happened behind me. I now ended up with the project team in Accenture as a representative of the bank. I was working with them. The Accenture people were now telling me that they were all looking forward to meeting me because of the way something that happened behind me that I didn't know. They said it was the first bank that they will go to, where they will ask for the bank to attach somebody to them, and unanimously my name came out from everybody's mouth. All right, so people are taking, and all of those things help because those people are speaking for you. They're saying, so years later or months later, the secretary, my Oga secretary, was reading minutes of their management. This he was telling, I was reading it, and one of the minutes he was reading, they were saying something like, you know, what can we do? What will we do? You know, to retain people like Ayo Arogo. In the minute, you read it in the minute. You have come and see what your people are discussing about you because they went to a retreat where I was supposed to be taking minutes. They were not confused as to why is it that anything we do for these young people, they will still leave. They will still leave. If you promote them, they will use it to get. I say people are all stupid. You all of you, as your management like this, you are foolish. Because if you are hoping to retain people only by the money you pay them, why would the person not go if they give him more money? It makes sense. So you have to create an environment where the thing that keeps people will be much more than money. But here now, the only thing people are talking about, let me take mortgage loan, let me buy car, let me do this one. People don't read in this bank. There is no environment that simulates this. So from that thing that I said, that's why they went to their management meeting and started taking me as subject to do. So yeah, I've had sponsors, but when I changed when I left banking and I was going to start private equity, my interview with the managing director, Okay Nelama, we interviewed him. After I finished interviewing, he said, I have a series of interviews to do this week, but if they all go as well as my interview with you has gone, it will be fantastic. I'm looking for a job. You are the person who is going to give me a job. You are giving me acknowledgement and pride. But that's how he also took me on as somebody to. Yeah, so I've had people at different times who have been sponsors, but that's purely been based on work, not that I go to their house or I know them or I do anything. All right? All right, thank you. Okay. Hey, last question, eh? Yeah, I want to say something. You people are doing youth week this week. Youth week. Yeah, you people answer me now. You are doing it. Okay. So we are going to stay longer than normal today. Okay? Yeah? Let me hear Naji now. We're going to stay longer than normal today. Okay, yeah, okay.
I want to ask you in the course of the journey, was there a time you felt like stuck or maybe you felt that you couldn't move forward? And if there was a time like that, what was it you did to get yourself out?
Excellent question. There was no time that I felt stuck, but there was a time that I became stuck because I was working in banking. I was already deputy manager or something. So we made a mistake. We overcharged a customer, a customer, and the bank couldn't reverse we were crossed over into a month. They couldn't reverse the credit. And the guy, Indian guy, was very stubborn. We said we will compensate you for another transaction. The guy refused. All right. So we faced disciplinary committee. We didn't see money. This was customer was overcharged. Paid the money, the guy back his money. They dragged us to the disciplinary committee. In the end, when the judgment came, they said that when next we are promoted, the promotion will be delayed for a year. So first is based on this thing now, the chance of you being promoted now is difficult. But they not say whenever that is when you get promoted, they will not defy it for a year. All right. So, but this we just had our second child at this time. So this was 2000. The reaction of everybody that was caught in that process, operations people, this one and me, I was account officer, there was a person in operations that posted the entry, all of us that were there. Those people came to me when the judgment was made. They said we should go and meet the HR person, we should charge, how dare they do this thing, this. I said, no, I'm not going. Because as soon as that thing happened, my spirit spoke to me that if I'd lost my job, what would the bank have lost? Not a lot. They can replace me easily. Easy. Don't deceive yourself. Easy. That here I am, I have two children now, I'm buying clothes for them from the US, I'm importing, I'm doing that. That if this thing stop, all this parole, where will it be? So my spirit told me that you have to change your situation. This situation that you are in is too weak. You have to put yourself in a situation where if you are not on your desk, the job can't be done. That means I needed to develop new skills. I needed to find another job. I needed to do something. So I didn't follow them to go to HR in anger because my own spirit had told me what I needed to change my situation. They went to HR. The HR lady told them that you guys are lucky because incidentally, all of us that were trapped in that thing were people who were like the highest ranked people, junior people, were A-rated. That Mohammed, the MD, wanted us to be fired. Said you should be fired. It was all of the other people who spoke for look at these people, that's how they tempered that suspect. When they came back to tell me what they found, I told you people now, no need. So from that time, that's how I found out about the CFA exam. I started the CFA exam, 3 years. 3 years, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 3 years I passed. But in that time, I didn't. My mind had left the bank. I'd become a law unto myself. I was determining what I was going to do, but because my eyes had opened, I started reading books. I started saying things. So by that's why they will nominate me to go to Accenture and do this thing. From that Accenture, I was telling them where I would work. I was now choosing the position that I'll be. When my former boss called me to say, "Oh, come and be the assistant bank manager in VI. After a while, you'll be the bank," I told him, no, I'm not interested. You know what the guy told me? He said, you have lost focus. But because he's my guy, in my mind, I was feeling sorry for him. That you haven't seen what I've seen. All right. So I left. So all of these things, most of these things that you see me doing today and become that, it was from that example. I reacted to it different from way most people did it. I changed my life. And 3 years after that, I got, and when I finished I just told myself, I'm not interested in looking for any job in banking anymore. My time in banking has been done. So I finished banking in 2000. I left in 2004. Because from that time when that thing was, my mind had left bank, everything I was doing was to get me in a position where I would go out of banking. All right. So I was just waiting. I didn't look for a job. Even appraiser, my boss was doing appraisal. He did one rubbish appraiser for me and he showed it to me, thinking that I will oppose it. I signed it because at that time I'd left. Mentally I'd left. I was just focusing myself, I was doing all of this. And once I finished my CFA exam, I got a job in a place where I like. That's when I went to a job where they didn't give me a car and the banking people were laughing at me. But 1 year and a half, years after, they're now asking how can they get it. I said, first, you got to do CFA. All right? Okay. Let's take a 5-minute break inside this hall, 5-minute break. All right? Except if you want to use the bathroom. 5 minutes while we are loading up Joshua's this thing. All right? Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. We're doing great. Don't go out except you need to use the bathroom. We won't wait, yeah?
I should check.
Hi.
So, what I want to ask is, I did not get, I would like to ask. So, you said something about challenging things and doing what's works for you. You know, okay now, and then at the same time, you now said that, okay, watch people that have done stuff that align with what you want to do, and then copy what they do. Even Brian Tracy said, but I just finished reading this book. So he said, copy what they do, and it's certain that you get the exact result. But then, what if there's something that they do that you feel? I feel like okay, even the best of people aren't always correct.
No, is say there's nobody that you need to learn everything from. One thing, it can be one thing that you want to model. It's just that thing. It doesn't mean that the rest of their life is perfect.
Yeah, because I feel like okay, like now this issue of sleep, the way you said
Which one?
this issue of sleep as well.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in the health line,
Okay,
so I
yeah.
can. If you want to fight,
Yeah,
you will fight.
yeah.
So
But 8 hours is too much, yeah.
8 hours is too. You might say 8 hours is
It's
too
too
much.
much,
Even
it's too
Branches
much.
said it's supposed to be 8 hours. Branches said it's supposed to be
8
7.
hours is too much.
Okay, no.
If you're not old, 8 hours is too
But
much.
even okay, Lagos said will never make us
Yeah.
sleep 8 hours because you have to wake up early and get to work and all that. And that, so that's fine. But then I read something. Even okay, before you said that, I first heard that talk in secondary school. There used to be this teacher that motivated us. Used to read Ben Carson to us, Isabello. So he was one that said that in fact that if you sleep for this particular amount in a year, you would have spent this amount of days sleeping. So he was the first person that said that. And then I don't really understand because I've not gotten into health. So getting into health and then this way I'm working now, Federal New Psychiatric Hospital, and understanding the impact of sleep. The impact of sleep. I might disagree.
Yeah, it's possible, yeah.
Yes,
I could be
so
wrong.
I want to be just that.
No, it's okay.
Because then I believe that
The most important thing is to say, make use of it. Is this still on? Oh, there are two. Okay, it's going on.
it's not enough. Don't stress now. It's very small.
Yeah, the important thing is make use, understand what you're doing. You can see 6 hours and see meeting most of the rest of the day. And you might see 6 hours and pop around. Yeah, you see 8 hours.
I have to look up anything. I have to look up anything.
Okay, we are ready to start. 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 Okay. Where is the mic that you guys are using? Where is the on? No. Okay, all right, can we be seated? All right, we're ready to start again. All right, please be seated, please be seated. Okay, so our next speaker is Joshua. All right, many of you would know him if you have grown up in Gloryland. My mic is not on. It's confusing. No? I'm on. No, who will set me up? Can you guys hear me? Who is in the control? Can you guys hear me now? I'm not on the mic yet. Who is there? Oh, yeah, can hear me now. Okay. So I'm very happy to be presenting to you this next speaker because he grew up in our midst. He's someone that has undertaken the same kind of journey. that many of you are on. And I'm particularly happy for him because he was in Benocus 2011. And like I said, like all of you guys are here now, only a few people would take something from it and make something out of their lives from that. So that the next time that we gather or something, you become an example to other people. He is one of the few people from that exercise that stood up and made a change. And there are many ways in which his life has changed. I will not steal his thunder by saying his own story for him, but I would tell you that um, there is a certain kind of satisfaction that I get from monitoring the progress that he's making. So I'll tell you a story. When we, I and Pastor Efrain have spoken about we should do this bare knuckles thing too. Straight in my head, I was thinking Joshua will be one of the people that I'll call to come and share something to. Within a day or two of that, he sent me a message saying, I've just gotten another job. I want to try out this financing side of this thing, the stuff I've been doing. I want to add it to it and all of that. And he said, I can't thank you enough for bare knuckles, all that. So when you start wanting something, the universe starts. Here I am thinking, I'm definitely going to call Joshua. He's sending me a message thanking me for something that we have not done ever again since that time. He's saying, thank you again for that bare knuckles. This thing. I just said, okay, God really wants for us to do this thing. And I have not told you, there is no amount. How many of you have watched Gangs of Lagos? How many? Joshua, did you have a role in it? Yeah, he was the assistant director in Gangs of Lagos. I was very happy. I'm always looking out for his stuff and his distance. So I'm very pleased to invite Joshua to come and share with us his story. Joshua Nakeye, I think is an incredible story for us all to listen and share from.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, it's one button.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Joshua Nakari. I'm a filmmaker, a Christian as well. As Raya said, I grew up in Glory Christian Ministries. And so I want to first of all thank you for the opportunity to be here. So thank you very much. I thank all the leadership of the church for this opportunity to be standing before you. I do not take it for granted, simply because, as Olaya said, Benokos is something that is dear to my heart. I remember very vividly when Yadaya came to us back then. In my head, I'm imagining him thinking, all these young boys running around with doing nonsense, come, let me teach you something. And so he said he wanted to speak to us in a series. Back then I was leader, I was part of the youth leadership of the church. And so that's really what I do. I work practically from home, and so I have a lot of free time. Yes, I have quite some, time to, do some other stuff, and what I do with that time is build two businesses on the side, both in filmmaking. One is pretty much looking at merchandising in film, and the other one, which is like still in ideation stage, is looking at commercializing a film village, and stuff like that. So that's basically what I do. So I will be using this opportunity to just walk through kind of the process for me from 2011, when Bare Knuckles, was had to this point. I just want to share some of the learnings and some of the actions that I've taken from that point to this time. And I'll be doing that, using the vehicle of some of the quotes that, we heard, some of the quotes that Elder Ayo, put forward that stuck with me and kind of like shaped, the mindsets that have moved me going forward. Yeah, okay. So, before I do that, I want to do like a short description of where I'm coming from, the tools I've had to work with, just looking at my background and stuff like that. So I was born into a family of 5. So 5 children, father, mother. Listening to Ogaya's story, I think we did a little better. So private school was a private school, not a big private school, but a private school in Ijesha. It was okay. My dad was an accountant. He was chartered, a fellow. And so at that point, it was okay. It was okay. I think I can say we were a medium income household at the time. But at some point, he lost his job, right? And things just went south from there. I remember the last time I remember us having a car was, I think I was somewhere around 5 years old. After that, we didn't have a TV for the longest time. I remember, days where we would, have to eat gari like morning, afternoon, night. It was really tough. My dad at that point, he had a policy, right? He would say, I buy WAEC form for you, you fail, you're on your own. Jam, once you fail, you're on your own, all right? And I did fail a couple of times. At my teenage years, I just knew that I had to hustle, I had to do something on the side, and so that's where some of the entrepreneurial spirit that I have, was developed. I've worked in a newspaper house, just sorting papers. I've worked as I've won, what do you call it, costumes in children's parties. I've served, tables at parties. And, working with all of that, I kind of dabbled into decorations, which, was something that I did for the longest time, until now when I'm like, okay, I can't be stressing myself, hanging stuff around because it's a lot of work and the pay is really, very marginal. So yeah, I've done all of that just to make ends meet, just to put food on the table, just to push, my education. On the educational front, so after I left private school, I went to, a Jaconde school. I think Jaconde they call it. I started in secondary school in Randall. No, not the white and white. yellow and green. So, so there were two schools in the vicinity, grammar school and secondary school. Grammar school was tush, they were nice buildings. Mine was, the ones with the half cement, it was like we were squatters really in the mix. And so educationally, it began to go down. There was a lot of tension at home in terms of, there's no food, you have to trek to school. So me, I'm like, yo, this food thing, yo. And so I didn't really sacrifice much in school to get good grades. At the time, it was church, video games, sleep, church, video games, sleep really growing up, right? And so my results were bad. Jam, if you don't have what are you doing with jam? So yeah, it got to the point where you now see your friends, they're getting in school and then you're a little intimidated, you're like, yo, I've wasted my life, how can I, and so, the journey started to, okay, let's try to get serious. I tried to get serious a bit, got all my credits, did jam, failed jam, did jam, failed jam, did poly jam, that's what it's called, right? Yeah. And then, I got into school in 2004, right? At the time, I had already started this small work, doing parties, wearing the clown, and stuff like that. And, so I got into school at that point, thinking, okay, I think I'm good with, working with my hands. I can change the screw, a bulb in my living room, I can fix the socket. Electrical engineering would be it for me, let's do that. And so I go into school, Polytechnic, we're like, okay, we're gonna be very hands-on, but I get there and it's, it's really what you can make out of it. Same thing with secondary school. I'm like, yo, I came out with a lower credit and just no enthusiasm to go back to further my, to continue in engineering. At that point in time, that was 2006 when I finished ONE in Mushidagula Polytechnic, right? Some of my friends, we grew up in church, they've gone to school, they've come back, they're working in banks, they're, kind of doing good for themselves. I'm here, the education I have is really, nothing that I can write home about just because I didn't think like I was confident. I wasn't even confident with what I knew, all right? And so I had to make a decision to say, okay, what are you going to do going forward? And so the decision I made at that point was to follow through with the creative, journey that I started in church. So I'd been in church for a while, drama group, acting in church, writing church scripts, I just committed to just church, drama group, video games. So for me it was church, drama, video games, sleep. So I'm like, yo, one out of these four things has to give. Church, I didn't really know the Bible too much, so that wasn't an option. So it was, for me, drama, all right? So at the point I started shopping for places where I can, make some money off of this, thing that I've done for a lot of years. Let me stop to say that at the point, we had someone called Pastor Ben, right? Pastor Ben, who actually did theater in school, he was very knowledgeable, he passed a lot of good stuff to us, when it comes to, drama. And so I said, okay, I'm going to take everything we've learned, let's put that in the market, and see what happens. And so I went to Terra Culture at the time. They were doing shows, every Sunday, so I went there, I'm like, okay, I can act, and so, they put me on the team and, we're doing stuff. I think they were paying us like $5K every week. So if you are in a part of the performance, it pay like $5K every week. So 5K times 4, if you know, do a full month of work, it's like 20K, yeah? Which was nothing to write home about. And so at this time in 2011, when, you know, bare knuckles was introduced, these were the tools I had. I had an education that wasn't going to take me anywhere. I ventured into a bit of acting, which, you know, I really didn't see so much of a prospect, you know. I had the decoration thing going, which really put food on the table. There was really no way that I saw, you know, a skill of any sort. Mind you, at that point, I was, you know, in church. I was youth. I was doing this youth thing. I was leader, part of the leadership of the youth church. And so, for me, it's like, okay, is this not a situation of the blind leading, you know, people? So it was very worrisome for me. I was at a point where I knew that something had to give, right? And, you know, there comes bare knuckles 2011. So the first thing that hit me, you know, during the first meeting was this scripture. So I'd seen this, I mean, I've been a church boy for some years, and I've seen this scripture, I've heard people, you know, quote this scripture. But something about the way, you know, it was spoken to us this day really did something to me. You know, Ephesians 3:30, now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power that works in us, right? One thing that our guy said at the time was that God was interested not just in what we are able to ask, but also what we, you know, thought about, our thoughts. And for me, it was like, God, if God could give you a blank check today, what were you going to write in it? If God cares about your thoughts and what you ask, how deliberate have you been in really carefully drafting your acts, drafting your thoughts? And so, for me, that just, you know, changed my point of view. I knew that I needed to start thinking about, you know, the future. I need to start painting a picture in my head. And as Elder has spoken today about imagination, you know, I just knew that I needed to change the way my outlook in life. I needed to change what I was seeing, you know, and then began the journey. So I'm going to tell a story about someone that I met in church. We pretty much grew up under almost the same circumstances, right? His name at the time, you know, was Day4. So Day4, we weren't friends, but, you know, pray together, we hang out at church together, you know, we do stuff. I knew him, he knew me, I knew, you know, we were almost like just hustling and trying to get by, right? But one time, Tade came to church and said he has changed his name. It's no longer Tade, it's now Cash. And Tade, if you know Tade is one short guy, you know, in the looks department, you know, Tade is maybe average. Cash, Tade. It was strange to us at the time, but Tade was onto something that we weren't seeing. Years down the line, Tade is into real estate. Not just in Nigeria, Tade is, you know, doing real estate in other African countries, right? I remember a conversation myself and Tade had one time. You know, he was like of the opinion that nobody on earth should be poor. And God never created the world so that anybody should be poor. Anybody should be underachieving. That everybody on earth is supposed to be a star. Everybody on earth is supposed to be, somebody of influence. And that was something I couldn't take. And I was arguing with Daddy like, we're doing Bible scriptures. The poor is always, even in the Bible, the poor is always among us. I was arguing with Daddy about my opinion that, people, are maybe born to be poor, right? But Daddy had left that zone. It makes me remember a film, right? Much compared to the resources. And so one way that we can solve this issue is that let's kill half of the people so that the other half can actually have enough to go by, and it's kind of reasonable. I have questioned God sometimes to say, God, this is your plan. It's your plan, get us in you. There's no resources. But people were multiplying, were growing, and all of that. It doesn't make sense. But I've come to realize that what you see on the outside, right, doesn't determine how far you go. There's a portion in the scripture where it talks about God creating man, right? And then God created the heaven and the earth, created man in chapter 1, right? And then it goes on to chapter 2, right? And then it says that nothing in the earth had started to grow, right? Even though he had created all of that, nothing had started to exist until man came into the equation. What that tells me is that it is what is inside of us that creates the opportunity. Years from now, there was no the only energy we knew was fossil fuel. There was no battery-powered energy. There was no solar energy. But somebody had to think that out, right? And it reminds me of the scripture that says that eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, right? The thing that God has reserved for the children of God. And so we need to change our understanding to say it's not about where you are now. It's not about the fact that you don't have money. It's not about your background or anything like that. It's about what God can do within you. And so this quote, it rings strongly within me, and it says that you cannot travel within and stand still without. And so it starts in the mind. And one of the things that bearing upwards did for me was to begin to change my mindset, to begin to reshape the way that I taught. Initially I just wanted to get a job. I just wanted to make ends meet, but I came to realize that God wants something greater than that I can be so much more, all right? And so I began to ask myself, a series of questions that were raised in bare knuckles. Why do I deserve to be successful? Now, if you're asking yourself this question, why you deserve to be successful, and your answer isn't because I'm the son of the king, because there's greatness within me, right? Then I don't think that you're answering the question properly. Who are you? I've had to ask myself that question. Who am I? What are my strengths, my capacities, and my limits? Why am I on earth? Right? One of the exercises that we did back in the days, and I know that you have done same, is to list like a blank slate what you want your life to be, right? In your finance, your education, your marriage, and we did all of that exercise. This is my bare knuckles. It wasn't as fancy as yours, but this is my bare knuckles note from 2011, right? I cherish this book so much that there are two things that I, consciously lock away. Is this and my voter's card. Like I just, keep them somewhere. And every year I just bring them out and I, just check, it's still there, okay, cool. Right? So I've had to ask myself these questions, and you find out that every time there's a new project, every time there's something, that I'm looking at, right? I told you that I work in, my job right now is sometimes I think like, I feel like, I ask myself, what am I really doing that these people are paying me a salary every month? Like honestly, it's that easy what I do. It's not easy, but it's easy, right? Because I have time to, be with my family, take them for hospital appointments. I have time to do practically anything. I have time to even do short jobs. So if I have like a one-day job where somebody wants me to aid, I really can do it, right? Because of the kind of job that God has opened me to. And I'm going to talk a bit about how I got there, right, in a moment. But these questions are questions that I feel like you need to ask yourself, all right? Because I have. Does my past mirror the future? And if you truly ask yourself, you probably would find out that some of the things that you believe, are wrong. Like when you say that you believe God, when you ask yourself this question, you really would think to yourself, maybe I've just been playing church. Maybe I don't really believe these things. And why is it important for us to check what we believe? It's because all things are created twice. There's a mental creation and there's a physical creation, right? Before I got this job, right, like I said, I've been aiding for a bit. I knew that I wanted to move to, producing, but I didn't know how, right? I needed to change it first in my mind. And so what I did was to do a list of the kind of job that I was looking for. I wrote it down. I said, I want to work, I set up productions in a company. I said I wanted to, what I was particular about was I wanted them to really open their books to me. I wanted to go to, important meetings. I wanted to sit, at tables where, decisions are made. I wanted to learn about the business of filmmaking. And I can tell you that right now, that's what it is. I've been in meetings with, representatives from Amazon, right? In meetings that ordinarily as a first AD, I shouldn't really be in it. I've had books of, projects, film projects open to me. I have templates of, accounting for film. I have all of that information just because, I got this job, and it was specific. When I was writing it down, when I was confessing it, those were the things that I specifically asked for. And so it's a prayer come true, and I'm grateful to God. So it's important that you create that mental, picture of where you want to be. I don't take it for granted. So I don't even, back in the days when we were in church and, our mother would say, when they are ill, when they are sick, they'll say, I am strong. and I will look at them and say, Auntie, I'm fine now. Oh God, I am strong. Oh. I don't say any negative word. I don't say it because you have to guide your mind. You have to guide what you're seeing. You have to protect, your mind and the picture in your head. I never say, the way Nigeria is now, and what they said. Never. Never catch me saying that. Why? Because you are planting seeds in your mind. Alright? And, all things are created twice. There's a mental creation and there's a physical creation. I want to pause to say that if I do an assessment, right, on some of the things that I learned in 2011, in terms of my commitment to it, in terms of pursuing it, in terms of staying in the line, I think I'll score myself somewhere around 40%. But even in that 40%, I can see the tremendous growth that has happened in my life. I have had to drop decorations. That was like a full business. In my house, one room. So I used to stay in a 3-bedroom with my family. My brothers, my mother at the time when my dad passed on. We had a room full of decoration stock, props, all of that I've gathered for years. I was even able to buy a sound system. There was a DJ thingy going on the side. I had to drop all of that because compared to what I'm doing now, it's just like you're wasting my time. It's like, how much are you going to give me really? I'm not saying that there are decorators that are, but I wasn't that. So it was, it became a waste of my time and I had to drop it. So I'm saying that to say that, if you do put in the work, for some of us we're young, the time is now, right? The time is now, and even though you feel like you have, wasted some years like I did. At this time, I was 29. I was 29 when in 2011. I was 29, right? Marriage was not even the picture because I knew that nobody would take me serious at that time. Right? I was really just about making something of myself at the time. Like I said, I didn't have an education that I really could call an education, right? So it wasn't a great place to start from, okay? But some of you, you have a better opportunity. So please do take everything that has been said, take it very seriously. And for people that feel like you've lost time, trust me, you will be surprised what can happen in 2 years. So in 2 years, what happens is that you begin to, in 1 year, 2 years, even though things aren't shaping up, you begin to become confident. You know that it's going to happen. When I started, taking all of this seriously, at the time, I decided that I was going to write a script every month or every 3 months in the least. At the time, I had a laptop that, once you don't plug it into power, it's off, right? I had a Palazzo phone, right? At that time, generator doesn't come on in the house until, it's 9, 7 o'clock. And in my house, it's not every day that happens. In my house, you need to buy for 5. So it was that. But what did I do? There were times when I would write a script on paper, continue it on my phone, transfer it to my laptop when the laptop comes up. Because I was like, nothing is going to stop me. There was no excuses. I had to write. No, I have friends that were writers, so you try to also dive into writing, and they'll say, "Oh, I can write it in my laptop." Is until like once I can flow, I'm like, "Yo, no, write on paper." When I was learning how to, when I got into AD, right? So there's an app we use. It's called Movie Magic. That's what we use to schedule in filmmaking. I had this same laptop, but it's this size. I don't know what they call it, but it's this size. It's not the really big laptop, so the display is not great. You have to move to see the button to press. That's what I started with. I remember times when, so one of my first gigs was with Everyday Life, right? And so I was scheduling at the time. That was the entry point. I was scheduling. So they gave me a script. I had to break it down and do a schedule, right, for them, so they can budget and all of that. So at a point, I was working for them, and so I was dealing directly with Moabu because she's very hands-on with her projects, and so I had to deliver the scripts to her. So she would send me a script, and normally if you give a regular scheduler, it would probably take 4 days schedule. But I made sure I did it in one day. And so for me, that was just like, So so at the time, I would get the script, I would break it down on paper, break it down on my phone, depending on, whether there's power. And then I would go to my neighbor's house, right? Because they always have power through the night. I'll go to his house, and then I would compute all of that, finish the job, and then I'll send it to her at night. So Marco is somebody that doesn't sleep, right? Well, yeah, she doesn't really sleep. And so she's like, "Oh, Joshua, I like you. You don't sleep." Like, if only you knew that this time is when there is light. I'm like, "Oh, yes, yes, I don't understand." Right? But I knew that that is what it took. And because of that, it opened me up to her. She was always calling me for the scheduling gigs, and that's how, it grew. But let me just say that the footnote is some of the things that you put together, right? Your dreams, what you want to achieve, and then you put the 10-year, a deadline, you're going to achieve this at certain time. It just sometimes it just doesn't happen at the time you want. It's a journey, right? If you're able to get your mental, get it all in your head in one day, it's going to happen. But sometimes it takes time to, take away some of the old, mindset you have and, replace it with new ones. And so for me, at the point when I was writing, I said financial freedom by 2022. This is 2023, and we're working on it. I said I was going to get married at the age of 29. Wait, when was it going to age of 29, I think it was like 2 years or so.
Oops, sorry. I think it was like 2 years after bare knuckles or something like that, or a year after. I was like, okay, I'm going to get married then. I only got married last year. I was 39 then. But I still look back at the exercise that we did, and I know that it was only largely because I was in those classes, I was in those sessions listening, and trying my best to implement some of the things that I heard. And so, guys, don't take it, for granted, those things that you've written down. In those things, you would find who you truly are, right? Some of the things I put in there, I know I go back and I just laugh at myself like, yo, I ain't doing that, right? But some of the stuff that's there, I know that that's what I am called to do. I remember writing back then that I was going to build a resort and a film
film village of some sorts. Back then, I couldn't put together the words clearly, but down the line, it's something that has become, a dream that I know is going to happen. Like it's, a more than £1 billion, investment, if you want to think about it. I don't have near that, but I'm sure that it's going to happen. Just today, so before coming here, I had a dinner to attend, someone in my industry, and then sitting next to me was Moses, one of the owners of Film One. Sitting close by was Ezra, the film tech guy, RMD. There's a lady I follow her on, Dr. Ola Brown was there. I know she's into the finance, healthcare, tech, business, And I was interacting with someone just casually, his name is Ben. He works in Ghana. And he was just telling me about, how he's working with this guy in Ghana, and he's into real estate. He's a big time real estate guy. He's diving into film. He's thinking about the same thing I'm thinking about, building a film studio, something like Tara Perry. I'm like, yo, God, what's going on here? Because just 2 months ago, I was thinking, how is this thing going to happen, right? But I'm not saying, that's going to be the way, but it's just God sometimes reinforcing those things that you've put in your mind that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And you're asking and you're tasking yourself, and you're, confessing, and you're keeping the dream alive, and you're working towards it bit by bit. It all comes together. Right. Proverbs 23:7. For as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. This scripture is it's a powerful scripture, but it's also a frightening scripture for me. Because it's true. It's the way you think. If you think you're going to get it, you're going to get it. The woman with the issue of blood, right? She had just one thing in her head. She could visualize it. It was all that consumed her at that moment. And even Jesus had no parts to play in the miracle she receives, just because she was convinced, about what she wanted, right? I'll just read what I have on the screen here. The ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person to achieve them. If you live like no one else today, the day will come when you will live like no one else. Interest is nice, but commitment is the first step to success. As Elder Ayo has said today, the largest distance in the world is the gap with what you know and what you do, all right? And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a walk in the park, right? But you have to be committed to it. But what helps a lot, what drives you really and makes it not mechanical, is when you have a vision, a dream that's so strong and so compelling in your head that you would do anything to achieve it. And that's what I had, right? I just wanted to make sure that my dreams were fulfilled. And there was nothing you could, I didn't have any shame. Like, I remember working in Nollywood for the first time. So my job is one that, as at first AD, I pretty much supervised the set. All right. So there are many things that makes up a film. So there's the actor, there's the props, there's the lighting, there's the camera, there is what else again? There's the grip guys. You know, so what I do is I manage all of the departments on set, from wardrobe and all of that, and make sure that they come together at this particular time for a particular scene, so that the director can, you know, play out the vision in his head. That's what I do, and it comes with a lot of stress. So I stand almost all through the 12 to 16 hours that we film. I remember the first time I started, when I go back home to sleep, right, I would wake up with muscle pulls, like, muscle pulls, not, muscle pull, not, no, muscle pull, that's what I wake up with. But that didn't stop me. I still made sure that I was standing all through. I was doing my job. I took everything such that, you know, if I wasn't on your set, you know, if I'm on your set as a producer, you pretty much can just go chill. And most producers do chill, right? If I'm on your set, you know, they're always depending on me that Joshua would, he would make the work move. And so that was what people knew me as when I started. It's gonna be hard work. It's gonna take commitment. It's gonna take, you know, at the time I was like, yo, relationship, chill first, chill. You know, it was all about what I wanted to do in the industry. And, you know, years down the line, I can, you know, sit back, I can relax, you know, I can do what I do now, you know, which for me seems like I'm just playing, really. It seems like, am I really working? Because, you know, of all the stress that I've gone through, you know, in the past. I would like to end with, I think, 2 more slides. Act yourself into feeling and not the other way around. I have a couple of friends that, you know, they'll say stuff like they want to get some big money before they save. After listening to a guy, I'm like, yo, even if it's 5 naira, I have to save, right? You have to act yourself, you know, into feeling, because you don't feel like it. You don't feel like waking up in the morning. You don't feel like, you know, doing that thing that you've said you need to do. But if you really want to succeed, you have to act yourself into feeling and not waiting for the feeling to act. Starting out to make money is the greatest mistake in life. Do what you have a flair for, and if you are good at it, money will come. So, like I said before, at the point, I really had to look at the things that I had dedicated most of my years to, and that was what helped me shape, you know, a career for in my life. For some of you that are, you know, you're contemplating, you're not really sure what you need, what you want to do, you know, or maybe you feel like you're in the wrong, I don't know, training, profession, you know, or what have you. I think that it's important to go for what, you know, you have natural, you know, instinct for, all right? What you have the flair for, what you are good at, what you've received accolades for. Those are the things, you know, that can help you really move faster. For guys that are looking to catch up, you know, you've lost a lot of time, you know, and you want to catch up time, that may be a pointer. It just may be. And money is not the first thing. It never is. Money is never the first thing. Don't put money as an obstacle, right? There are other things you can do before you get to the point where money is. You can research on the things you want to do. You could get an education. You could build a plan. You could do a lot of things before money is a problem. There's something that I've learned recently, and it's really about running. What's that term? Starting lean I can't remember, but it's the concept really is about taking that grand idea you have and breaking it down to a point where it becomes very simple, it becomes easy, it becomes something that you can action the next day, right? And for some of you that are looking to take that big step, right? Scale it down, bring it to a point where you can handle it, bring it to a point where you can actually show working, where you can create some form of traction and then watch it grow, right? The tongue is the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruits. So, the tongue is really powerful. There's a portion in the scripture that says that a sheep, right, as mighty as it is turned by a small rudder, right? And it's the same thing about the tongue. If you learn to, speak the things that you want to see, confess it, there's a way it changes your mind, it changes your outlook in life. And before you know it, you become that confident person, you become that person that believes that it can happen just because you've mastered the use of your tongue. And you can speak life into a situation that, doesn't seem like it's, growing, doesn't seem like anything can come out of it, right? I'll end with this, with the scripture that I started off with, Ephesians 3, verse 30. Now unto him that's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask and think, according to the power that works in us, unto him be all the glory. So I think that it's important for us to know that we cannot do anything without the Holy Spirit, right? The Bible says that the Holy Spirit will teach us all things. It will reveal hidden secrets, hidden secrets in the world, hidden secrets in your career, hidden secrets about your life that you didn't even know about. The Holy Spirit is there, to, show you these things. And that is the power, that works in the inside of you. That's the power that God's going to work on, is the relationship, the presence of the Holy Spirit in your life. And with him, you can do exceedingly abundantly above all that you ask or think. Final quote, I cannot do what I ask, for I was born a king. First time I heard the scripture was in 2011, and it's such a powerful scripture. You can only behave the way you see yourself. If you see yourself as a son of the king, if you see yourself as a son of God, if you see yourself as greatness, then your entire outlook, your entire emotions, your entire actions will work, in that direction. Thank you guys so much for listening to me. I hope that I help to encourage you that it's possible. For those of you that know me, you know a bit of the journey. It's not ending, it's still, being written. So see you at the top. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a break. We reconvene in 20 minutes. So that is 2:55, I think. As always, they have refreshments for you guys and coffee and all of that to ginger you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Joshua, by the way, he recently just had a baby.
Thank you.
He's doing nothing further at nothing further duty. And I think it was last week, he became 40 as well. That means when I tell the people now 40 years, what am I becoming? But it's so impressive to see him make strides, and that's what we hope to see with very many of you. It won't be 10 years time before we do Bed of Us again. In a few years, we hope that many of you will be speaking here as well. We'll be eager to speak. We take a 20-minute break, we come back, we still have to go up to speakers. So we need to kind of motivate, but drink coffee, drink tea, eat donuts, be okay. 3 o'clock or 2:55, we'll be back to fire on. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. If people are paying attention, I'm not seeing somebody do this. Go ahead and enjoy yourself and come back. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
After.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You stayed away from TV. Thank you. Very good. It was good. You guys are not right. Well,
Yes, I would do it. I travel that. Still sitting here. What different type of So you want to be in this line, or you want to?
Oh, right. Well, fine. Come on.
coming, I'll get some ready.